Hello and welcome back to CrestVahllen D&D. This will be episode 19, Waxing Beams and Distant Screams. Without further ado, let's get into the recap of the previous episode. Log uses his newfound ocular abilities to gain possession of some of the lodestones with the aid of Zemdak's scrap, as more bargaining ensues and trade secrets are divulged. Sofka gains the friendship of a few more rodents as the origin of the spell scrolls is derived. Log and Trisheni work on creating a copy of Bagra's notes and plan to send them south with Grogrug. The party beds down to rest as the familiars and constructs notice a pale-skinned dwarven figure with a torch make their way towards the black powder caravan. The pale individual dispatches a few guards silently as Shakar awakes Trisheni and Zemdak in alarm. The party scrambles awake and invokes their abilities to rush toward the infiltrator, attempting to stop them from igniting the power, as roars and yells fill the area. Unfortunately, the infiltrator is able to bash into a barrel with the torch, yelling "Maitre Guy," causing a massive explosion. Tremors shake the ground as a colossal albino worm bursts through the rock, swallowing nearly all creatures in the vicinity. It soon leaves, tunneling through the ceiling of the area, compromising its structural integrity. The cavern begins to collapse as people panic and rush for the exit. Revik rushes to Willow's aid, and Cole heals her, the Warforged pushing through an exit with her in his arms. The party makes a split-second decision to sprint for safety of the hole left by the worm in the floor, jumping down and slowly descending into the blackened void. Now, let's get back to the action. Welcome back to CrestVahllen.
Hello and welcome back to CrestVahllen D&D, the Argent Flame. We are falling down a wormhole. All right, and I dropped my dice. Wonderful. It's gone. It's gone. Okay, we'll find it later.
So,
It's a wormhole, but
how
not
many
that kind.
slots can you use?
I have a total of 8 slots.
All right,
Okay.
guys, we're going to start this episode off fucking wild, and we're gonna roll in the Tower of Terror scene to see how deep this hole goes. To see if the feather fall is going to do.
If
see what
things
the
go
feather fall's
bad,
gonna do. I'm gonna do it right here. I'm
Let me
actually
go.
gonna show our watchers and
take
not
care of
you
them.
guys.
Let me go.
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna show our watchers and not you guys.
That's
Hopefully
fun.
they can see what's going on here. I'll try to, maybe.
I mean, I'm hoping.
Camera's not tall enough to see over the rim of shards.
You guys.
Can I cutting words, God? I don't know.
You can argue with the gods. And the
It doesn't
universe.
usually end well. just saying. Arguing with the god. They only did that a little bit in our one ones.
Did you refocus?
I hope so. Okay,
Falling 60 feet.
60 feet.
We still falling?
Still falling.
Reaction. Catch everybody again.
Okay, you do it again.
Do you do it again? Because you
We
have.
should let it fall a little bit. We have light. We can always.
Oh, you can
cast
free fall
stab
for a
ourselves
while.
As we fall.
You're still climbing, aren't you?
I'm climbing.
So we're leaving
You're gonna
you
be left behind.
Unless,
yeah, I know.
Yeah,
But if you
If you-
jump, you could. He
He
could
could catch you.
Okay.
I can catch you if you jump.
Okay.
I can still catch.
So as
more
we
than
fall
you.
past you, would you jump with us? Or
Yeah,
would you keep
I'll
climbing?
jump with you.
Okay.
I'm not sure how.
Oh! Come on! Here, come on! Hold on.
So Cole's got
jump onto my back.
I just kind of
Cole's got you. I've got everybody else.
Like as I go past, I'll go jump.
just boing.
What did I do with my
Put it over here. somewhere.
Monkey.
Last I saw.
So 60 feet down,
Anybody
we're still
remember,
falling.
Like those monkey sports movies from like the 90s. That's what I'm picturing, like
That's all
jumping
right.
down the hole.
Right, I do remember
Like
that. Yeah.
I just remember Airbud.
For some reason, like I've
It
got
was like the bad knockoff. Well,
my,
it was
my
a knockoff.
kids watch
Yeah.
Airbud.
Airbud
got, like-
labs.
Madagascar style animation, like monkey just like free falling through the sky.
Skydiving monkeys.
Right. Man, if you only prepared your wingsuit, man, you could have like.
Come on. I messed up.
An animal with
Spells I'd like to get
a
at
flight
next level.
spell.
Okay, so guys, this is all happening very fast.
Yeah, 60
So-
feet.
So you're gonna not. So
Where are we at?
You
600
recasted
feet?
it 60 feet.
600 feet.
You're gonna fall 500 feet. You're gonna let it go, right?
Featherfall is 60 feet per round.
I understand.
For 10 rounds. So 600 feet down, we're slow fall.
60 feet per round for 10 rounds because
For
it
10
lasts for a minute.
It lasts for a minute.
You're
Yeah.
right. Yes.
600 feet down.
600 feet down. You're
Are we still falling? Okay. Reaction. Catch them
Cast
all
it
again.
again. Reaction. Cast it again. You got it.
1,200 feet.
1,200 feet down. You guys eventually, but at 900 feet, you guys alight
Jesus.
down on a curved enough surface that you can stand.
We should get
We
out
need
of
to get
direct.
out of the hole.
We need to get
Yeah.
out of direct vertical pathway.
Yep.
So
Well, here's the other thing. You guys, I've told this to you before because you rolled really high. Worms very rarely ever go back upon
Right.
their.
We're worried about the
Yeah.
walls collapsing down.
Oh, yeah. A bunch of the you guys have fought a lot slower than the debris.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was rolling a couple luck checks over here before the break. None of them has it's going. It's you alight on a bunch of rubble. A bunch of the rubble has kind of scattered down and collected here. None of them actually tried to hit you and collided with you.
we
You
still
guys-
shouldn't stand below.
You guys get a 19 and a natural 20 on those luck checks.
We still shouldn't stand below it.
Down the tunnel and away from this falling stuff.
Sure, you
Yeah.
got it.
We still shouldn't stand below it in case something else falls.
Got it.
So
Your light is still active, correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Are you guys intending to be stealthy or you're just fucking moving?
right now, maybe.
I'm moving.
Okay, you
I'm
guys
rolling.
move.
We're not looking for gems.
Yeah,
We're
light
done.
lasts for an hour.
Anybody who has proficiency in survival.
As soon as
can
we're
roll survival
underneath,
check.
Do I have
like
a...
as soon as we're under cover of the tunnel,
Mhm.
like,
Nope.
is it a slow
Like
slope?
under it starts to.
Are
Here's,
we at like a enough? Of
I'm
an
saying you're about
angle
at like a
to get-
15% grade.
Cold straight survival.
As soon as
Oh,
we
okay,
get
you are?
past
Okay. Are you
like
trained in
a,
survival?
I just have
the
a
lip
+5.
of the vertical tunnel,
Yeah.
so that nothing's
Oh,
falling
you're not
directly
proficient.
on
I'm
us,
not
Absolutely, yeah.
proficient, but
We
I
can
have a
slow it.
+5.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
and then I'm gonna start
That's
looking
gonna
around.
take like 50 feet. of it.
Sure, that's fine. As soon as we get to that point, though, I'm gonna start slowing down and looking around
Sure.
for worm droppings.
Cool. The purpose of this survival check is to kind of get your bearings as far as cardinal direction, if at all possible. It is a very high DC. Those who are proficient in survival may roll survival.
We only have one way to go. That doesn't
You
matter.
do.
Kevin,
It's just
isn't
kind of
all
like giving you an idea of like
proficient in survival?
if you think you're gonna have to make a left or right or continue
I believe
forward.
you're
or-
the only one.
Yep.
12.
12.
I mean, I'm not an underground person either, so
Yeah.
We're in a tunnel. There's one way forward.
You think you're going north, but then you remember, oh shit, I have a thing that shows me which direction
Yeah.
I'm going.
oh yeah,
Probably had a cane.
I pull out my cane, that silver star cane. I turn it into the sword, and when you draw it, it points north.
Yep. You are going west by northwest.
So we're
Towards
still
Minheim.
trying to head
Min-
towards Minheim.
Ish.
We're going
Yeah,
a little north.
a little bit
We're
north,
going the way we need to go.
but kind of. And then you continue on a little bit before it sharply curves back east.
Nice.
Are we stumbling across any more wormstone as we're walking down these tunnels?
Roll a perception check for me, you fuck.
I said I was looking
No.
for worm
Mhm.
droppings, so. Perception check?
Mhm.
17.
20.
21.
24.
24.
21.
21.
Oh,
Those that rolled 20 and
20.
above.
20.
I didn't say shit.
Those that roll 20 and above find you find there's some scattered stuff. It's nowhere near as big as the one you found before. That one probably was constipated and was like, oh, this is like the first meal I've had in months, and it just dropped everything it had to try to eat. This thing looks like it gets food on the regular, so its bowel movements are far more regular.
Yeah.
Is there any
Good
animation?
job.
Here's what you spot. Those that rolled 20 and above, you spot pellets about the size of your head throughout the the tunnel. Pellets of gold, silver, copper. There's a small one about the size of your fist that's made of platinum.
Ooh.
Grab that one.
Yeah, like, did we see any adamantine in here either?
You do not see any
What about
adamantine.
diamond?
Adamantine happens when, like I said, things are constipated and they're crushed and crushed and crushed, and a bunch of
Oh,
minerals
no,
are
no.
forced together.
I was just kind of seeing just maybe if we found something
No,
around.
that's not what you find. I'll let you know values in a moment. The other things you do see is connected like a trail, almost like the spittle or like the goo that connects certain pieces of poop sometimes is gemstones. There's a couple things. You find about 80 gold worth of diamonds, 70 gold worth of sapphires, 50 gold worth of rubies, and that's about it. And if you take the time to collect all this stuff, which it's going to take some time. As far some of this stuff is like embedded into walls here and there, just because of the nature of how fast this thing was moving.
I have a
through.
mining pick.
You got it.
I have a crow.
I can say,
I have a crowbar and a hammer now.
for the sake of time, with your mining pick and your abilities, in the course of an hour, you could mine. Given this is going to make a little noise,
Yeah, we're in a worm tunnel.
right? Not many creatures cross a worm, other than creatures that are walking through it, like you.
The
Well,
bat
we might wanna
scavengers.
keep an eye out for those one things. Though.
The bat scavengers that were in the other.
Oh, the
Amphitheaters.
amphiteaters. The
Yeah.
amphitheaters.
Or
Yes.
other creatures
I
like
don't
that.
know.
Great.
They
So
chase the
okay.
bear.
So real quick. Okay. Just let me direct this. Cole, you can roll a perception check to keep on lookout for these amphiteaters and like to listen and look for them, while the rest of you harvest this stuff. You are able to. This is raw stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
This will have to be smelted. Well, not yes. This will have to be smelted in order to become like coin. For example. You guys find 545 gold worth of gold
545?
ore,
Okay.
320 silver, so 32 gold worth of silver, and 920 gold worth of platinum, so 92 platinum. Like this fist is big. It's about like the size of my fist if my fist was like a big meaty fist, like Cody's fist. It's about. Big meat fist. I have lanky fingers. I have piano fingers.
I've been looking for platinum.
Mhm.
If you guys can give me 100, like a tenth of this, just for my own project, I can make something useful.
So you guys find a wealth
Yes.
of ore here. Make
Perfect.
sure that you write that down as ore.
Or yes.
Yeah.
Raw ore that
Yeah.
will be needing to be smelted in order to be used as currency.
I'll pop it into the bag of holding.
So I'm pocketing the 7 gold of diamond, or 80 gold of diamond.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
stuff doesn't need to be. It's uncut, but it's still gems.
Yeah.
Uncut gems.
The gold,
I'm
the
sorry.
diamond, sapphire, and rubies are just what they are. The
Yeah.
metal ores are ores.
Yeah.
They'll
Yes.
have to be refined.
Yeah, you guys roll really high. This is what you find. This, and you get the sense that this is like nothing compared to what this creature could possibly create.
As we go down its tunnel, we should keep our eyes out because there will be more.
Right.
Granted, like I said before, what you learned before is that often right before an attack, it dumps what it has, what it
There's a
has
lot of
in its
ammo.
bowels. Just like
Dumps.
yes, shut up. Just like a ship would dump its,
Yeah,
its
yeah.
waste before it went
Right.
into hyperspace, so it doesn't have as much weight.
Correct.
The same thing. It exits its
Yes.
its bowels, so it's more maneuverable and it's not cramped when it makes an attack.
Makes
Same-
perfect sense.
Natural 20 on my perception roll for that, for a total of 29.
29. Okay, you do hear sounds coming down the tunnel, but even with that high perception, you have no idea what it is and you have no idea how far it is. All you know is that somewhere within this tunnel or any of its offshoots, there are living creatures. And that's a lot. And that could mean that they could be thousands of feet down the tunnel or something, but there are living things that are alive within this tunnel.
You can see the furthest.
Real quick before you do that, with that high perception check as well, you are at this sharp turn. You realize you see some of the striations in the rock here were a little bit more condensed, almost as it moved slower in that area. It looked like it was heading a certain direction and then made a split-second decision to change directions very, very, very fast, which would make sense if there was a big
The
fucking
explosion.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that this Durgar would know that this thing would be in the vicinity,
Sus.
sus.
Host is getting a crossbow bolt. to the fucking eyeball
You blame the
next
host for
time.
everything.
You're the one that says he's got like plans within plans. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
he's getting a crossbow bolt to the
I just
eyeball.
keep
the next
reminding you
time.
guys that he's not the only bad person in the world.
You're
Especially
right.
since
You're not
we know
wrong.
that he built splinter cells and then killed the person that knew all about them. So
But for this to happen while we were traveling through the exact same place at that exact time,
Oh yeah.
like, come on.
Also, so like I had said before, Argus and Zemdak, you are aware that this could be, it's sad to say, but this could be somewhat a very macabre blessing in disguise, even though there was a very large loss of life, because you do know that there are ways of getting to your destination faster through back tunnels rather than just flat to the Triway. Granted, the Triway, the offshoot of the Triway that would go straight to Minheim is pretty straight shot, but it's like, it's the safest route.
Right.
So it's not like, there are definitely ways through the Underdark and through deeper tunnels that would get you there possibly even twice, even more times as fast.
So keep that cane going for us, so we can keep a general
Yeah, know where we need to go, especially if
heading.
we find the tunnel.
Yes.
However, it is far more dangerous down here.
Sure.
You're very well aware of that.
Yep.
Yay.
Okay, so
Technically, the Triway is just the main thoroughfare, but people colloquially will call the Triway once you start to get on more of the worked roads that come off the offshoots from the tunnels. They still can. Some of the ones that don't are like to more of like the geographic features that are underground, and those don't count as necessarily the Triway, but they're still offshoots and they're made by the same people. So
Dwarves of Minheim would have mined out veins to a certain point where
for sure.
we're like, it might take us a week or two to get there, but we're eventually going to find a vein highway
Yeah.
that goes back to the city.
Yeah, and
Okay.
also the dwarves, as you know, and the gnomes have been mining areas far before the Triway
Millennia.
was ever built.
Right.
So
We're going to find a tunnel somewhere at some point.
Right.
We just need to know which direction we're going.
right, that cane is
Right.
invaluable in this area.
Right. Hold on to it. Do not lose it.
Yeah, fucking I knew it.
I know. It's fucking crap.
What are
right.
you talking about? I'm not giving up my cane.
You look baller.
Onflip comes out of nowhere, grabs a cane.
Okay.
Okay, great. So here's the deal, guys. You didn't get your long rest. You're fucking exhausted.
Mhm.
If you guys want to continue on, you can continue on. Depending on how long you continue on, you're going to take a point of exhaustion, or you can try to find a place to rest.
Around the bend, we're safe for any landslides.
Right.
I would say
Right.
we make camp, finish our rest, start fresh.
And we can go back into the hut and get the rest that way, and then we'll be even safer.
Agreed.
Also, Cole, it occurs to you. It's very, very. This is obvious. It occurs to you. If that worm came under your hut, that would be it. There's no
Yeah.
bottom to the hut.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
quiet.
So underground hut is not as safe as overground.
As quiet movement as possible. I realize that's not between Conk and Argus, that's not going to be great.
Do me a favor too, Zemdak and Argus. Please roll a history check. You can roll. How do I? I guess it's a history check as well. It's just from a different source.
14.
14,
16.
16,
7.
7, 16. Zemdak, you've heard of there being like a mother matron purple worm, but it's a stuff of fairy tales. And
We saw dragons.
yeah.
So
I'm just telling you what you heard, okay?
Okay.
I'm
So
telling
this
you
could
what-
potentially be the real life incarnation of.
Yeah, but you've never heard the term like maitre guy or anything like that. You've never heard that before. But to
Is Mature Guy close enough to Matron that I would make the connection?
that's up to you. Yeah,
I-
possibly.
Knowing enough
far away from
languages.
hearing,
Sure.
though.
Yeah, no,
I could make that leap, right?
yeah, that's pretty
Okay.
obvious. The whole matron, matriarch thing, yeah, that's
Okay.
super
And
obvious.
a giant.
The whole
worm.
guy thing, you don't
Knowing
understand.
Duragar are deep folk.
Speaking of which, just for player references, is a matri guy, like matriarch, but at the end it's GAI.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But like knowing that the Duragar are deep folk
Mhm.
and knowing that Matri Guy
Mhm.
is close to enough to matriarch,
Mhm.
and that there
Well-
is a folk tales of
A giant
A
mother
great
albino
mother
worm. There are
dragon.
tales of a giant mother albino worm.
I could tie all that
Isn't
together
that
with
the
my
Absolutely.
dwarvish
intelligence.
undercommon stuff that Trisheni heard because she was the only one close enough to hear that through Shikar? Like, we
Did
didn't
you
hear that.
didn't have
otherwise we
comprehend
might know
languages
a
at
little bit
that
more.
point, did you?
No, but I mean, I wouldn't.
The Durgar was
Would I-
saying Matra guy.
Yeah,
and
no,
so I
slamming
would
his
know what it
door.
Yes,
means.
you guys
but-
get the term maitre guy. You can, through common sense, associate the giant mother albino worm with the term maitre
The folk tales that we have heard.
I was just wasn't
Growing
sure
up.
if we all heard that or not.
No.
Because you made it
The
clear
only
asking
peop-
what languages she knew before that.
The only person that actually heard that was Shakar while she was warging into them. Actually,
Right.
no, because some of you got close, and as it took its second turn of attacks, he screamed
Said
maitre
maitre
guy
Maitre
again.
guy, yeah.
So yes.
Okay.
So what that? But guys, this is again another creature of legend.
This is a mythological, like, this is dragon version of underground creatures that we have now. This is the second legendary creature that we have
Which is something to be said.
come across.
So
The
Cole,
frequency of these interactions are becoming.
We went from thinking these things were myth to encountering 3 of them
right?
Almost like there's a resurgence of creatures of legend.
So Cole, if you
within
can
the
tell us
last
like
3 months.
bedtime stories every night of the things that you've learned over your time at the college, that'd be great. So we can kind of, I mean,
Prepare.
prepare. Yes, it's a grain of salt, but it's
Well, I,
With-
mean, I did grab
with
that,
that-
book out of her. I did grab that fairy tale book out of her bookcase when we broke into the.
That is true.
you did.
You did like with that. The first thing that comes to mind with you, Cole, of course, is the water spiders, the ones that say they will creep and tear about, and but you must not shout. The whole thing about or the water spiders. Yeah. And because the whole you thing with spiders and the fairy tales, like shit, are the water spiders real? Because you sang that song that one time in order to like keep the kids like. It was like that macabre fairy tale thing that everybody
Right.
knows.
Yeah.
They're probably real too. Just how long ago were they last spotted is the question,
Mm-hmm.
or that were they last survived to be
Well, I
reported?
mean, all of these things
is the question.
that we are running into, we don't even know when it was last spotted because they're so mythological.
Sure.
Well, granted, you know the water spiders are real. People have encountered them like
Oh, we have.
for real. Yeah, water spiders are real.
Okay.
They're for sure real. People just don't often encounter them.
Right. We're just
But-
talking other like mythological
Sure, for sure, for sure.
boogeymen.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, the list goes on.
exactly. Like
Great.
how many of these things are real, and how many things like,
Haven't been embellished over the ages.
or how many things have been around for the last recent history and just haven't been survived to be reported upon.
Ah,
Right.
Mhm.
Like they could be around
are.
and they just kill everything that they
yeah.
see.
Right.
The Azar.
And we don't know that they're back because nobody survives
point,
to
very good
report
point.
about them.
Right.
So yeah, like something large, continentally large, is happening to bring things back that haven't been seen in hundreds,
Or
thousands of
bringing them
years.
Out, like you said.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is larger than the host. This isn't just him. This can't be just him.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what Lady Masha is doing since she's connected to the College of the Unearthed.
But there's also other things going on, right? That, like,
I mean,
feel like
If anybody knows, the elves know. But that doesn't mean that they're working
To do it.
to help anyone but themselves.
the other thing too is we know that the baker's dozen and like my sister they've encountered things that they've not can't be
boss.
tied.
The
Yeah.
boss is
the
under
boss.
attack.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole nother thing, right? Like cool, through maybe he's a
But
necromancer, right?
That's,
But
that's an
still,
interior thing.
But that's definitely-
that's like civil. That's a civil
But
war.
to
Yeah.
attack the God Emperor, it has to be something big, doesn't it?
What about
Well,
the
those
God
it's not-
Emperor
three
hasn't been seen
Henry
for millennia.
mage that we ran into?
To attack Babas itself, it has to be something big.
Right. I think that the fact that the zombie flux that went through there had to be something that helped do that, right? It's like to get past the barriers, the magical barriers that have been set up for the city for a long time. And now, because of that, of course, the politics and
The zealots.
zealots are taking advantage of that.
There's
It's
so much going on in such a big area. I don't know that we can lay it all at the feet of
I agree.
those.
Argosy.
agree.
look down at your hand and you realize that you've been clutching with a death grip the book. This is the copy that she made. This isn't the original copy. This is the copy that she did by rote.
Just her notes.
But
Her
it is
common
still
notes?
all of the information that was in the book. So you essentially have a copy in her handwriting in the book of the book. But being able to read it is still a problem.
No, I think I wrote it down, right? And then
She
I
did.
have some.
She
Right,
in
but
her
then-
session 0, she
yeah.
wrote a copy.
okay, cool.
I mean, I have my copy, but that's just a little bit.
Wait, should we feed that to like Log's book too?
That
I
seems like a
don't,
really
I don't
bad
really
idea.
want to get
You're just
his
like becoming
patron
aware of
more
like
copy.
shit. I've been clutching this thing really, really hard this entire time. You have it. So you have pretty much a near exact copy, except for handwriting and like it's not the original. It's made out of more current binding and paper. But as far as the content, it's exactly what was in the
But
original book.
But we can't read it because
Can't read it.
it's no one can see it.
Can't read it.
Spooky.
But
I mean, the book maybe could read it. It's a somewhat sentient
Can
book.
you
right?
read it with your new sight?
It didn't like him either.
The book
Yeah.
itself, like it's weird.
It defended itself against
Yeah.
all.
It almost like not the
except
book,
for
the
her.
object itself. It was the content
It's the
of the
connection.
text.
Yes.
Was
Did you ever try reading it?
The
the
book
object?
exists.
It's object.
Okay.
I don't make no mistake. The object of the book is not like your book. It's not a sentient actual moving.
Yeah.
It's not. It's the content that gives it.
It's the text.
It's the power of
Trisheni,
Let me ask a question.
could
What?
the things that are attacking Babas, could they be more of like those runes that we found under Karadim? I mean, I would assume that they would have more of those in the maw and everything like that. Could maybe that be what they're using to attack Babas or get through those defenses?
It certainly crossed my mind, especially after our first-hand encounter with this. I mean, especially we know the host is a necromancer, right? But like, yeah, I it's possible. The problem is I don't have a complete answer yet to that question. What I have in my study of Bebas learned more about how exactly they protect the walls and stuff with like because I was fascinated, right, trying to get back home and stuff, so I would have probably studied a lot
How they protect the.
the walls, the city itself, like how they actually do
So
it.
here's the deal: the city of Babas doesn't have any walls. It's entirely open air. There is an arcane shell, like a massive Liamon's tiny hut, that is invisible, that extends over the city limits of Babas.
Okay, so how do they do that?
That people say it was a blessing and a gift from the god. And that's it.
Okay.
That's what the populace knows. And like there are sometimes you feel like it's invisible, you don't feel it, you don't see it, but sometimes you feel like a tingle in like the pit of your stomach when you pass through it.
Okay.
Sometimes, but that's it. But they do sometimes there are guards stationed along the exterior, so they never bothered building walls because nobody's going to invade them from the fucking middle of the fucking desert. It just
Right. You
doesn't
see
happen.
them from miles away.
You see them from miles
literally.
away. It just doesn't fucking happen.
Right.
Because there's not much out there.
There would have to be a horde that would survive the distance and pile up against that
Right.
barrier.
So, and that not necessarily hordes, but undead do end up against it, kind of leaning up against the force field, just like, ugh, and not being able to get into it. And only then it becomes visible with this kind of like bluish purple, kind of goldish tinge to it. There's a kind of this
Right.
arcane
Okay.
shield.
But
where
you'd
it
have to
doesn't-
have enough of those to get to that.
Imagine
point
a massive like sanctified, or it's like
to break through it.
It's like one of those
Sanctuary,
spells,
yeah.
like the sanctuary temple or whatever it's called,
Mhm.
where like undead just can't get through it, or if like they take a massive amount of damage if they try to. It's kind of like that, just like supercharged and huge, absolutely colossal in its size, and it's just a big old dome.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, for enough numbers to batter that, to get through it, would have to be a horde
Or it was deactivated.
or somebody turned it off.
Right. You don't know the particulars and
We
the,
don't.
and the
We don't.
or the details of what had happened.
Right.
All you know that there wasn't you're muted again, Cole. All you know is that there was somehow
An
undead
attack
made
in
it
Babos.
into the city,
Yep.
which has been unheard of. at the very least centuries, possibly millennia.
Yep.
Thank you.
Our lifetimes.
So there's a big old shield around it.
But if they reactivated undead underneath, just like we just talked about with my tiny hut, very possible that that might be how they got him into the city.
Or like the host did in Carradine.
Right.
That, to you, Trisheni, doesn't make sense. And the reason why is because you are aware that the grounds of Bavas are blessed. They're hollow.
Yeah.
They're hollowed ground.
Yeah, especially with all the religious zealots there, they're doing that all the time.
Yeah,
right?
well, and the reason, and it's because, and you know, because when people die within the city limits, even if they're under the dome, they don't turn undead. So the curse of the walking doesn't affect people within the dome.
Yeah. So yeah.
So it
So
didn't have
it might not be exactly hollowed ground as far as the mechanics is, but people don't turn undead.
close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Okay.
So it's not.
It was
It
just
didn't.
a thought.
It didn't happen the same way, but something happened to break that barrier
Exactly.
and let the undead into the city,
Exactly.
which had to be drastic
Right.
or devious, one of the two.
I do wonder if it's continued. Like, is it a continuous problem as far as like even just those wandering souls that wander too, that come through every like week or two up against the barrier? Like, is that barrier still active at all, or is it completely shut at this point? I don't know though, and unless we message people.
Did your sister tell you about anything great that they've encountered out in the Isles?
Great as in just like world
Like
events going on.
Dragon, matriarch, worm, like
Hmm.
mythologically great that
Mythological.
they have run into, or is it more mundane great?
I mean, she's run into some pesky flowers, but
I'm just wondering
Not-
how far this spreads.
Cameron
not
mentioned something like
the pesky flowers, or
No.
just the great.
Cameron mentioned his
right.
origins.
Right.
Dragon. He saw a
Right.
dragon that
Right.
changed
I mean,
him.
right, because Tammy used to be a halfling, so he did just become a dragonborn. So I guess there's a dragon, and then the fact that there are elven ruins out there too. Obviously those have been around for a while, so that's not new, but still,
The hags, the grannies coming back,
it's possible.
in enough that we've heard about two of them.
All right.
Three of them.
Three of
We've
them.
personally run into
Yeah,
two of
no,
them
yeah.
on our own.
Right, and then a scoop saw one, right? So
Something big is happening.
right. It's extra magic coming into the world or something.
Something
Something's
is
happening.
awakening the old terrors of the world.
Right. Hmm.
Am I wrong?
No.
No, and not all of them are terrors, right? It's like, I mean, some dragons are cool.
August,
Right.
you have a moment and you think
My powers came from a deity that's been
that's being reawakened.
right.
Jesus. The elementals too.
Right.
Are we in a time of cataclysm? Like, is this the change of an era?
Right. Is this prophecy?
It's not unheard of. There's so much going on.
Eras change, right? Like, we count our history by eras, right?
Yeah.
So
Granted, sometimes between eras, history gets lost.
is this like if we put all this together, do we feel sort of that sense
The
of
biggest era that you guys just know, because it's just part of the things that you learned growing up as being a part of the world of Vontiria
Mhm.
and the continent of CrestVahllen, is the era of when the ancient Elven Empire, which I believe, did I ever give you guys the name of the ancient Elven Empire? I don't think you guys have known the name. The ancient Elven Empire that came from the west to the east, that stopped at the that was like a big, huge event.
Mhm.
And then stalemate lasted for who knows how many, like many years, and then it just stopped.
Okay, but like
And
our
nobody knows why.
current count of year, does that go back to the war? Is that like post-war
Like the fact that it's
1990?
That's
10, 16.
correct. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, that goes back to when there was an agreement between all the nation states of CrestVahllen to recognize the actually one of the big factors of that was the establishment of the Bardic College of history. And that was like when the first intimations of creating something like a Bardic College, or actually creating historians that would keep actual national, not national, continental history, to become like a continental right, is when people started to think, oh, okay, this is the age of history where we actually start documenting our shit, and it's shared throughout. So
But
it's
that
been about
doesn't-
1,000 years since the beginning thoughts of the Bardic history. It's only been a couple hundred years, about like 600 to 700 years since the Bardic College has actually been in effect as far as practice. But yes, that was when all of the nation states and all the nations themselves agreed upon a somewhat of a vague bit of armistice to say, yes, we should start documenting and like really finding out the truth of our history.
That wasn't a world changing.
Kind of where like my Bardic community comes from a little bit.
Yes, yeah. The basic fundamental roots is where that comes from. Yeah.
Wasn't like cataclysmic. It was more
No, it wasn't a
historical.
cataclysmic event. It was like there had been they're most likely, seeing as like the war stopped and nobody fucking knew what happens, there's kind of a gap of history there.
Yeah.
And somewhere along that where like civilizations became somewhat stagnant and like kind of like the Dark Ages kind of feel. Somewhere along there, some people were like, okay, enough. Let's start learning from our history because this is ridiculous. And that's when that age of like kind of like age of enlightenment is what some people call it began. And like, nation states started to become actual nations, started to form governments. The Razor Fang Agreement stopped being so fucking closed off and just themselves, and started spending the massive amount of wealth that they had on other endeavors and other countries.
Okay, so in the Triumvirate, would I have seen books that dated back to pre?
That's something you're going to have to check.
Yeah, it's fine.
Go to the Ferris Archives specifically.
We know though that the
None of the books that I would have read to this point would have been like pre-Bardic.
Yeah.
No. Nothing that you would have had access to. Nothing in like a local library.
Securities Force records though went
Could
pre-Bardic.
very possible.
They went pre-Bardic.
And my book's pre-Bardic.
Do I
Does
Your
that-
book is more than pre-Bardic.
reading?
Does it have a specific like
Sorry. Go ahead, finish your thought. and then we'll get
categorization for that year system?
That's the thing. That was kind of like the Dark Ages era. Like the big era that you guys are aware of was the era of the conquest of the ancient Elven Empire. Anything past that is like super ancient history, could be prehistorical, but like if there's anything that have survived that, your book is something that's pre-ancient Elven. Like this is old. We're talking about millennia ago. This is old.
So any records that might have existed were probably wiped out by that conquest.
It's possible. Well, but here, remember, the elves did not conquer the Razorfang Mountain.
No, they didn't get to the far east coast.
They did not. They did not get past the Far East. As far as you know, they did not make it past the mountain,
We no, but Tammy did tell us about the ancient ruins.
which is an anomaly.
Yeah.
And you found several,
Mhm.
which doesn't make sense.
And we saw.
Because all of your history points to them being stopped at the mountain.
The elves all being.
But there are
west
ruins of
the
elves in the Twin
In the
Isles and other islands in there. So what the fuck? That doesn't make any sense. Granted, some of these elven ruins have been found near places like Wellwall Gates.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a
Wait, I wanna get to Cole's question. Yes.
I was gonna say, do I remember, or did I see, or do I remember reading anything like that at the Bardic College?
That's a very good question. Yeah, go ahead and roll a retroactive history check. And can you be just a little bit more specific for me?
Like, did I find any like books that would be pre like the founding of the Bardic College?
Okay,
Or
so you're
was
talking
I shown any books prior?
pre-current era? Like
Yeah.
this is I believe I have the name of it here. One second. No, so this is called it's 1016 EA, which is known as the Enlightenment, which is like the era of like when history started to be like recorded and continentally available.
yeah.
Right.
So and it's when like nations started to pull out of the Dark Ages and started to communicate more with each other rather than fucking
Right.
just
and
staying.
I do, and it would kind of make sense that a few of the pieces that have been found or were around when the Bardic College was founded would be there.
Right. So, quick question, just for clarification: are you talking about just before the Enlightenment era, in that kind of like vague area? Or are you talking about before the Elven Empire era? Or are you talking about even older than that?
I'm talking that weird Dark Age period.
Got it. The period of like there was a stalemate and nobody fucking knew what happens, and for years and years and years and years and years, people just
Right.
kept to themselves.
Right.
Okay, go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and roll a history check for me. It is a very high DC.
Okay. And 7 is not high enough.
Unfortunately, like many before you, it is a void of information of time that happened there. Mostly because like it was a dark age. I mean, people didn't see the point in recording the history. But you don't really know more than that, you know? But the fact that is like the dark age only has to do with our records of that period. We don't know actually what happened.
We know they're writing books because I have an old book.
The
That
next
is
time,
older older than the ancient
Right.
Elven
So
Empire.
we know
itself.
there's a
they've been
gap.
writing
There's a
books.
gap between when your book was written and the next book we know.
No, that was before even the ancient Elven Empire.
You're
That's
right.
older than that. So
There's
we're
a-
not even talking about the gap dark age. We're talking about before.
I
because the
understand.
gap- right, okay.
From what we know, there were written books, and then there was a huge gap, and then all of a sudden there's more written books.
Right? In the past
We don't
1,000
know
years.
anything of what happened in that
How
giant
long was that period?
millennial-long gaps.
Nobody knows because
Okay.
there's no records. So
Okay.
we don't know.
So it could have been
Right.
like
The next time,
It could have
Generation.
been centuries. It could have been millennia.
if we send another message to your master, we should ask him if any of the scholars have tried to timeline that out.
Oh, for sure they've tried. For sure they've tried.
If there's any
With
theories,
limited success.
if
but
there's any theories at all, it could help us understand.
that's one of the great mysteries of the Bardic College. Like it's one of those big things that's like they try to figure out.
Obviously, we know dragons and things like that exist.
Sure, exactly.
So, where are those records? Obviously,
Pre-Elven.
if no one else knows them, they may not be in a place where we could ever get to them. And it seems like our age is going back there. Right now,
Okay.
we're having so many different magical beings.
If the
start to
Elven,
breed
if the Elven attack wiped out
power.
a bunch of records, then any surviving records would be in the east. We would need to go to Babas, to a library somewhere in Babas, or
Or to
the northern
west,
wastes,
Mhm.
or to the south,
the far like northeastern wastes, to any cities that still exist,
Everybody, do
Right.
me a favor and roll a history check while you guys are talking.
Or
about
even-
this is some serious information.
or even the Lawamden Dominion. They might have survived.
Wamandrini was pretty much untouched.
Right.
So those are the
Well,
places.
there
where-
were apps. I mean, just by obvious
If-
reasons, people the elves tried to go onto the ships and like try to circumvent, and things were stopped. You know.
if records survived, they survived in the east.
In those places, yeah. I agree. And I've heard the library is fantastic in Babas. I'm very excited to go.
You also
History?
know that the boss and the Maresians, the Maresian culture
Yeah. It's
predates Kenra,
right.
which is wild because you have no records of there not being Kenra in the mob.
Right.
What'd you get? History.
19.
19,
12.
12. Cole.
Oh,
You're
you
muted
muted.
again.
better, but a 10.
10,
6.
6,
19.
19, 9.
Even when I'm trained in history, I still can't.
Scholars.
Sofka, you hear whispers through the rats and the rodents and the underbellies of cities.
Mm-hmm.
And while traveling the Razorfang Mountain Range and among other areas here, you've heard tale of like, oh yes, one of the oldest cities there is, like, one was rife with pickings and good things. If Hilnsfarn has been around forever, has walls that have never been penetrated. You're super safe there. Same thing, except from a different perspective. You've heard tale
Mhm.
of how Hilnsfarn's walls never been penetrated. And impenetrable forces
fortress that even is stands in defiance of the gods themselves.
And knowing the seal that I just saw and broke, I would put together that the Midnight Athenium is probably a good place to check out at some point.
A massive archive of information and more.
That's what the Bears
However,
and Black Powder have.
that does not discount the fact that
No,
Babas
okay.
and a lot of the towns east
I'm-
have also been unaffected.
Never been
from-
touched.
Just
Never
like
been
Fell's
touched as
Farm.
well.
Yeah.
Well, possibly because we have seen evidence of elves in those areas, despite lack of evidence as to why they should be there.
I had a 19 too.
Hild's farm.
Yeah,
You got an. I'm sorry.
He
So
came
yours was a
from-
12.
Yeah,
But
mine
you
was
heard-
a 12.
It's okay. You've just heard whispers of like, "Hey, they should go there. That's pretty great there. Like,
Yeah,
nobody
I'm
can
like,
touch
cool.
it."
Still cool.
Yeah. But yes, yours is like
We tied.
you
so-
kind of put it together about like, and you start to realize like, shit, that's where that story came from. Hildesfarn was one of the towns during the conquest of the ancient Elven Empire that even though it was surrounded by elves on all sides, they couldn't get into. So it has been untouched as far as the Elven and conquest came.
So we might.
Hildesfarn is actually not too far from the Maginot line of where.
I went past there. I didn't go to Hilton's Farm, but I went past.
Yeah, but
there.
you've heard of
On the trade road.
and Hildesfarn is again not too far from the Maginot line of where the forces were at a stalemate.
Yep.
And try as they might for many years, they were unable to get through. There are stories of like elves trying to get their chops done with burrowing and not doing a very good job, and other things, but that does to not by any means discount the idea that absolutely there are possibly cities and towns and history far east that could possibly be untouched by elves. But again, you've still seen,
firsthand.
regardless of what the history says where the elves were stopped, everywhere there
There were
ancient
elves there. Outside of the war, there were elves.
Whether that means that
In the Dark Ages, it could have.
either that, or whether that means that it was propaganda, or it was subterfuge and infiltration and sneaky. Like, I can't stress enough. Also, like I said, you had found
We saw an elven temple.
the Baker's
Yeah.
Dozen has been given to you, right? The
And
Elven Temple
all of
to
us did.
Corlon
Yeah.
was
In
built
the
upon
Isles.
a well wall itself.
Right.
In the Isles.
And if you know the nature of well walls, what did they do?
They got you from one place to another, from far away, etc.
So if the elves had the opportunity to be able to teleport people from one section to another, how come they didn't flank and win the war?
Right.
Well, didn't we notice that the metal from the Chris was the same thing as the well walls? Could
Yeah.
that
Correct.
maybe have been
Exactly.
the creatures that were using them?
So the elves didn't necessarily make the wells, but
They
they
just
had
used
them.
access to them
They won.
Right.
at some point.
They do remember.
The
In
well
history.
walls, I remember you guys and your sister have done your best to date them.
You can't.
Thousands and thousands.
It is so old, it's beyond dating.
Yeah.
We're talking about like beyond archaic, beyond primeval.
We would need carbon dating.
Have I learned about carbon
We would
dating in
need
my
that
time?
spell that
I
Bogner
think there's like a
was
spell where you
trying to
kind of
get.
I'm intimated to it, but I can't remember.
We would need that spell that Bogner was trying to get, that lore legend.
Legend.
spell.
Legend lore, yeah.
Legend lore.
Legend lore, yeah.
Why don't we just ask Lady Masha to do it on the
That's
well
a
wall?
great
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Maybe not.
She- she
want
probably would
Lady
help
Masha
us.
to know about the well walls?
No.
Yeah.
That would be terrible.
If she
Was
doesn't
joke.
already know about it.
Probably already.
She may not know how to activate them, which
She
would
might-
be a boon.
She might not know where all it goes either.
So
Or
I'm
she
not trying
does.
to push the idea here. And I don't want to like
No, no.
push your thinking, but like you said, you find a whole elven temple built upon a well wall.
Right.
Sarn Le, it like prides itself on being an oligarchy of the descendants of the ancient elven empire.
So you're saying we
Basically.
could probably get the Sarnlock through the well walls.
Some
think so.
culture built the well system.
Mhm.
Then the elves came along. There was a big war. They could not get east. And yet, at some point in that same history, they had access to the well system and built
You remember the
Societies.
story of the sister
Society's in need.
of that one well wall that was flat,
Mhm.
not in the position where
No,
like it was a
that
moved
happened
well
after.
wall. Like it was a well wall that was not in the position that it possibly originated or was.
So
That
maybe the
happened
locals
after
tried
our
to close
time
the
Oh,
wall.
right. So you haven't got that information. Sorry, you haven't got that information yet, because you guys are so far forward in the timeline.
But there's also, I mean, it wasn't just that in this Catalystos. My sister didn't tell me about how they found this. It was like a cannon. You could use it in like. So I wonder if it was the elves that made that, or if again, so they had harnessed that technology back in the day, or if it was these beings that created the well wall. too.
Zemdak. Your mind goes to Master Oros.
Yeah,
and what
the
he
weapon
picked
you
up.
found. I'm wondering if there wasn't whatever the creature was
Mhm.
that we just saw riding the dragons.
Right.
If they weren't a precursor race that we haven't seen recently, even before the elves, before the rest of us were here, there was some species of people that had knowledge that we don't.
Right.
Because there's knowledge, obviously, that we have lost over time.
Mhm.
Was that
Bro,
the hint you were going for?
Or the Master Oros picking up that item.
Right.
Yeah, was like sounds
I-
a lot like what she was describing.
Yeah. And I have a blueprint of a broken version of something
You do?
like that. It doesn't
do?
it doesn't make sense.
You do?
Yeah, I found it. We found it.
Right, but I didn't, I guess.
Where you
I
found
don't-
Willow and Revik.
Yeah.
I guess I just didn't really understand at that time because I was
In the
busy with
old-
other
The essentially that's like
the
or-
same.
original triumvirate battle.
Right, that, but like I didn't realize that was a gun that
Well,
they had
actually,
found,
you
the
remember this
blueprints,
was
you know?
it looks like a reverse deconstruction.
Yes.
It looks like
something tried to understand
a
what they
reverse
had found.
engineer of something, because the item that you saw him pick up looked elvish, and so this looked like a blueprint, which was a reverse engineer of said item,
Yes.
like almost like the elves had it and the dwarves didn't, and it made them work it.
Okay.
Regardless, in our recorded history, it seems like we have gone backwards
Agreed.
as far as understanding and knowledge.
Mhm.
So,
Ironic that it's called the Enlightenment.
Right.
what happened?
Why?
What? That did backwards.
And why is it changing now?
Why is it coming back
Right.
now?
Roll an insight check for me.
And you, what's going on with you? And it does
Right now, I'm just happy I can like kind of keep up with this conversation. You know, like before, whenever this would happen, I'd just be, you know,
what does your thing have to do with this thing, and what does your thing have to do with this thing?
7.
I'm not rolling very great
A little bit of a queasy tummy, but I think you might just think you're hungry.
as usual.
It's almost breakfast time. at this
Primordial
point.
God
Your
activated
dynamic
powers.
together.
I think it's
But
always
not
on
just
the long rest,
primordial.
right?
Like
Yes, that's what I.
he's touched something ancient and unknowable,
I'm saying like
and he's
when it comes
got
up,
something
remind
weird
me, so
going
that I
on.
make sure I'm
Right,
doing
and then
it.
ate
It's a
something that
lot
was
to keep track
weird
of.
on top of that. So you're
I
like
make
double
you
weird.
roll every long rest.
So
Friend.
That's all I hear.
primordials and
If you-
unknowables and
What if it's good? What
ethereals,
happens?
and how does
What makes
this?
it good? and What makes it bad?
So you have to read through
Right,
the
and I
stuff,
mean,
but it's-
Is that all similar? Like, did it all get locked out,
Okay.
and then all of a sudden it's
This
back?
is great.
and we
Well,
know.
Think about. Oh, do you guys know what was in Willow's book?
We don't.
I only
I do.
saw certain words.
Right, 1 to 9.
Right, like
So the sacrifice, did that lock away the magic
Right.
that was out there?
Was there
Well,
some moment where all of this greatness was just locked out, and all of
1
us
to
it's
5
bleeding
is
back
the
in,
insanity.
Right.
and we're at a tipping
what was
point
meant
now.
by
Oh, 1 to
the
5.
sky fell.
6 to 9. Wild magic table. 10 to 10.
right.
Yeah.
The sky
I
fell
want
because
Sky fell, that's-
This is great. Well done. Well
I
done.
mean,
Very
again,
proud of
that
you.
could be meteors, stars. I mean, it could even be, say, an attack from other world creatures too.
Or
which
dragon?
we've
out of sleep,
seen.
that helps,
We've
too.
seen those all with our own eyes, the other worlds and things. So we know that there's other life out there, right? So
Yeah, and whatever,
blowing your mind. I'm sorry.
whatever was interacting,
Sokka
whatever
is, like,
interacted
kinda
with
checked
me
out by
and
now.
Log 8, it wasn't a natural creature. It was abnormal, you know.
I mean,
Well, log is abnormal.
but you are now abnormal too, my friend. Like,
Well, that might be why it works, you know, better with him, and he gets moons, and I get chewed out by my mom.
What has happened recently, though, that has allowed these things to bleed back in to our plane?
The College of the
So far,
Unearthed.
the common denominator is us, the host, and the baker's dozen.
maybe we're just more so just running
Or
into things because we're exposing
We're
ourselves.
traveling, and so we run into these things versus the people that sit in at home. It could just be coincidence that we notice them and others don't.
Mhm.
I mean, the College of the Unearthed connects it all too. Tammy's a part of it, and we've now seen it around in these sort of situations. Lady Masha and the Aaron box, all of that connects
I was
back
gonna
to
say-
the College of the Unearthed.
So are the Aaron Box, though. If he has teleportation abilities,
Which he could be using the well
He
walls.
does. We obviously found
but
one of
he
his teleportation
isn't, though.
circles.
He has his own teleportation.
He does,
circles.
but he could, if let's just say hypothetically, he could have both means of travel, right?
Yeah.
It's
You could have
possible.
a teleportation to a well wall and then go anywhere, even when you don't have a circle.
Right.
Could he use all that terrazine he always carries around with him to activate a well wall, too?
No, I feel like
I don't
We
know.
didn't try it, so I don't know that we would. I don't think we know.
experimenting with terrazine is not the best idea.
We would have.
We know the catalyst dust activates the well walls.
Mm-hmm.
As far as we have experimented, that's the only thing that affected them.
Right.
Also, isn't it weird that
I'm
those?
saying-
Or
Sorry,
the hags.
Go ahead.
The hags had Granny Lonely activated it without dust.
Did she?
I thought she used dust, right?
Granny Lonely had the hand of the faceless.
No,
After
you
no,
can't.
to get,
no.
to get
When
us
she
in.
first sent us into the tunnel,
Right.
she activated the gate.
She used dust.
Okay.
Yeah.
Activate.
Yeah.
So yeah, all we know is that the dust activates the gates.
I believe she actually forced
Asked us
you
for
to
it,
use some of your dust.
I think
Or
we
asked
we
you to
had
use some of
do
your
it.
Oh,
dust.
right. Because
If I
then
remember
she was like,
correctly.
"I'll show you the door. You have to walk through it." Kind of.
Yes, that's what happened. Yeah.
So
Or something like that. For either way, I
But you
do
said
remember
that
that
Dust-
dust was used to
Okay,
activate them.
dust is the only thing
But
we
you
know
said
of.
Dust is a
that affects
very
the
strong
wells.
magical catalyst. Terrazine, as you also said, is a strong magical catalyst.
You also know there's like a
Maybe
magnetic
use-
attraction between the dust and the well walls because even when it's
Yes.
released in a pouch near,
They're
it-
connected.
like Ferris dust, it goes towards a,
Well,
a
of
super
course they're
powered
connected because they're the remains of the faceless. So obviously, they live in that dimension.
But why? Okay, so
Sorry,
why would
let
they?
Cole
Live...
say one thing. Go ahead.
All I'm saying is, maybe he's figured out a way to use the terrazine to bypass needing the magical dust to get around it, though.
Or he goes in one plane one time and blows up 20 of these guys and then gets plenty of dust.
Mhm.
Teleportation is not impossible on its own, though.
No.
Like, we found his circle in his hideout. Like, our knowledge of the arcane allows for teleportation.
Yeah. It's
So
really-
he can move around without using the wells.
Right.
And as far as we have never seen a point where his position and the wells intersected. So I would say
had a
that
teacher at the Bardic College who liked to use it to surprise new students, just pop out of nowhere.
Right. So
I know that you can do that.
I don't necessarily think that he is using the wells, or that even the current knowledge of the elves lets them use the wells.
But we don't know that for sure.
We don't know that for sure.
Think about where he's placing all these different magical
But
attacks. We don't know. There could be a well wall in Caradim.
the temple we
Totally
found,
would make sense.
Mhm.
every well we have found has been ancient and
There was the
abandoned.
big ancient Maresian tower in Caradim. It's
Yeah.
completely possible there's a well wall under there.
And
The
these-
knowledge may exist in their personal records, but as far as any evidence that we have found, they don't know how to use it.
these things don't just stay on our worlds. You know that, right, guys?
Yes.
Okay. Just
The things that attack you come from elsewhere. The visions we've seen traveling through the tunnels
Granted, they make it through
have been from
tears
elsewhere.
that you create in reality.
Right.
Right.
So maybe the elves don't use it anymore because they think it's too dangerous.
Or maybe they weren't as attractive bait or something. I mean, there was that thing from Granny Lonely talking, but it wasn't Granny Lonely. It was something else talking about me and my sister and Forty and Keorti. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's weird that the creatures that seem to inhabit the wall would be the ones whose remains would activate it, right? Like, as a species, why would you create something that you would have to sacrifice your own to
trap
Maybe.
in that dimension.
Maybe they don't
Maybe.
have to sacrifice themselves. Maybe they touch it, and their own our version of magic to them is activating them from their side.
I mean, that
That
could make
could
sense
make
why
sense.
Granny Lonely wanted a hand from them.
Right.
right? And then
And
now
now Granny-
still, yeah,
Granny has free access to
The wolves.
the
right.
wells.
It's like the secret.
What if the creature that was on the dragon is the precursor to the creatures that are in the well walls?
Did it look like? I mean, from the check that we did, it definitely did not look like anything of this
Do me a
world.
favor. You're gonna roll this in the
Be more assist as the protect for your sister.
You're gonna roll this in the Tower of Terrazine for me.
Skeletal,
I need you to roll either a history or an Arcana check.
because we've never seen their skeletons.
I need
Kill
to be.
them, they
I
just-
need to be very, very clear about this. Depending on which one you decide to do, you'll depend. And if you roll well, you'll get two completely different types of information.
Right. They're both the same modifier, so I'm going to go with Arcana, just because I feel like
It gets stuck there sometimes. I might.
It just needs like a little.
I'll
ring or
sand it.
something.
I
Yeah, I'll
think-
sand it out.
Are you okay with it being
If you move
there?
it a little bit, it'll. If you keep it up, yeah.
Yeah, it's 14.
14 plus
But-
your Arcana.
So 22 total.
22. It's DC 20. It's a very, very difficult check.
Just get out. It's stuck. That's it, guys. That's it.
Just put it out the back way. There you go. I'll sand that hole up so that we'll.
Okay.
Oh boy, how many holes?
Sand the hole.
Sand the hole.
Oh god.
Ouch.
So
That sounds uncomfortable.
It does.
Arcana check.
Yeah.
This has to do with your understanding of the reality of the well continuum.
hmm
The reality of the well continuum, the amount of time that you guys spent in there was brief, albeit unsustainable. Imagine what would happen to you if you spend prolonged, repeated time within that continuum. Could it start to affect your physicality? Could it start to affect your physical and just corporeal essence? Not even just corporeal, mental, emotional. You have the experience of right now. You are in the underground and you are being affected highly emotionally through your post-traumatic stress disorder of being underground for a number of years with no one else to talk to. Imagine being in a continuum that constantly changes reality and warps space. What kind of effect would that have on a creature that is meant to be in the material realm?
I think you go mad.
hmm At the very least. Right.
And
We
not
all
just
go a little
mentally,
mad
emotionally,
sometimes.
but possibly physically.
Right. As your own body is being warped by the gravitational forces or what have you.
But
And
then,
as
seeing
you
as
travel to different worlds.
Time is so weird
but then would
and
you
doesn't
adapt?
necessarily pass within the well wall continuum itself.
Or passes faster by
Could the
orders
creatures
of
within
magnitude.
be eternal, undying?
Or they seem eternal or undying to us because
Possibly.
don't
because-
travel in the same time.
because it's almost like as you're on that event horizon time for a black hole.
The dilation.
Right.
Yeah, Sofka fell asleep.
Yeah, she's probably like,
We're probably delusional from exhaustion,
Yeah.
so maybe
So
we should make camp
Could
again.
these faceless be were previously something else?
Beings from our plane that got lost in the wells and just
They got turned into dust, though.
No, only
No.
when they're killed.
I know. but
turned
I'm
into
saying,
whatever
like,
these faceless creatures
But
are.
they're so fragile.
Right, probably because they're ancients. They got stuck there. And infected.
Their time in the wells
Is that why there's
sucked.
multiple factions within them? People
It's-
who have different type of memories and lives.
It's possible, and then especially like
Eternal soul related to.
I'm also wondering if the
Right.
time could go faster. So these could be generations of beings that were
Time is
stuck
all
in there.
wonky. These could be things that aren't even exist yet.
And they could have evolved
time.
into a
Mhm.
creature that now exists in that plane.
right, and even with our own plane, we have
Theo's like, I'm
done. I'm fucking done.
This is too much for
You guys are going like way up here.
Yeah, I mean, even the dwarves and elves, though, like, say a couple of them stumbled into it and they couldn't get out. I mean, you would, there you go, two different factions, especially back from that time. I don't know.
They want. They're lonely. They want more people to be like them, kind of thing.
Right.
Potentially, and they're trying to change them. It's keep
Any
you in,
creature
and others may be trying to keep
that got
people out
stuck
for
in there.
safety.
Your life essence could be pulling towards them.
Dwarves, elves, humans,
Things we don't even know about.
things we don't even know about, monsters that got stuck in there could turn into the other ones that chase you out.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Just to remind me, do I also feel kind of a similar tug to those? Well,
Like the tether that your sister feels?
Yeah.
Not as much.
But I
But
still
you
feel
do
something.
feel it when that event horizon happens.
Okay.
Like real strong. You feel like your essence is pulling something out of the ether. Like it's unconscious. You're not able to control it.
Right.
It's
When it's open.
involuntary.
Right.
But when it happens, but yes, like you don't have your consciousness and your constituent matter
Yeah.
like scattered among the realms like your sister does. But you definitely feel a tie to this.
Okay.
It's not like a thread or a tether, but it does feel. It's almost when you do reality warping and time and space
Yeah.
warping spells like you do. It does feel like a door is opened, and you're afraid of what might come through before you can close it fast.
I think we've gotten away from the collapse far enough.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Do you
We
wanna-
need to sleep.
Yeah. Do you want to play
Yeah.
a little game where we find the spot?
Just put
We're-
up the damn
we're-
dome.
We're in a straight tunnel. I don't think we're gonna find like an alcove to sleep in. I think we
Okay.
just
Sofka like kind of wakes up and is like,
we pick a spot,
there.
we lay down.
roll
Good
a
enough.
survival check for me.
It's a 15.
15. Everybody else who, those of you that have been doing the thing, do it at disadvantage because Sokka beat you to it.
What was it?
Survival.
Well, we've been doing investigation before.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Fuck it. It's survival right now. You can do investigation next time.
Okay.
13.
13.
Nah, you beat me. That was sick.
Okay, so Sokka's like,
5.
there.
Right there. That's
Sofka's just
good
like,
enough.
Eyes
Yeah,
are
like-
still closed, just points, and both of you are like,
Yeah.
Sokka's already actually laying there. Just
Yeah.
right here.
pointed and started like
Here.
doing that walk where you start to get shorter and shorter every step you take until you're just laying down.
Yeah. Sofka passed out a while ago.
Good enough.
And then kind of woke up and was like, mm-hmm.
Good enough.
I assume the dome is thrown up.
Dome goes up. Not ritually casting it with a spell slot per se, since that way it's less noise.
You got it. So you just kind of like find a little crevasse it's still in the worm tunnel. It's just off to the side a little bit, like something collapsed, like a stone fell, and then it just left a little crevasse. Boom. You set that up. I assume the familiars and Conk are on watch. Go ahead and roll perception checks for me. Yes.
I'm gonna cast sending on Grogrug to make sure he's okay.
Okay, what do you say?
Hey, did you make it out of the collapse? We're all fine. Let me know.
Oh shit! You're alive? Oh man, little man! Wow! Yeah, we're good. We're headed south. That was wild. We didn't lose anybody, but might be a while before we get back to Minheim. And that's about it. It's probably like it, but might be, and that's probably where it cuts off.
They're trapped. between a collapse and a quarantine, they're the only ones that can get to the
Yeah,
adamantium.
that's very true.
All right,
Blessing in
typing
disguise.
safe.
Blessing in disguise.
And he knows a lot of tunnels to get around. He might be able to
Sneak his
figure
way
out a way
back.
back in.
Mhm.
He does know that kind of shit.
14.
Whether they're big enough to haul a big old thing of adamantine.
Yeah, but he might.
14 for perception. Twig. 6. Twig. He's just happy to be on top of the dome. That's his kind of his perch.
I was going to also send to Willow to make sure that they got out all right.
Okay, what do you say?
Willow, did you make it out okay? We're all fine, but I want to make sure that you and Revik made it.
There's a pause for a moment. And then another moment. We're fine. A little banged up, but doesn't look like there's a way through anywhere else, so we're headed north.
Guys, Willow and Revik made it.
Good.
So did Grogrug and his whole crew.
Awesome. So win-win for us. Not a win for everybody else.
Yeah, the thing is, like, all of these people are seasoned to danger. So all of these people, like, as soon as things started, like, the bear started roaring, they were like, we're out. We don't even need to see anymore. We're fucking out. And they split immediately.
You're welcome, everyone.
You're our alarm system.
Right.
Low-key.
It's like when you see somebody running, you don't know why they're running, but they're just running down the sidewalk somewhere. You don't even look back to see what they're running from. You just
start running with
You just
them.
start running. That's pretty much what they did. They just started running.
If we talk to her again, perhaps she can find my family
He's going up there.
if she's going that direction.
I mean,
At this
I did
point-
talk to them about that a few days ago.
At this point, it's going to take us longer than we have to check in with my family.
Right.
So if you're going to send to her again, please let me know so I can
Or do you want me to send to your dad again?
ask her to help. I don't know what more you can send to my family.
Okay.
They're simple miners.
Okay.
If they're in trouble, they're past
You're
help.
gonna be in trouble. Okay. All right. Well, before I go to bed, I'm gonna at least send one last to my mother to let her know what's going on. I'm gonna say there was an explosion at the junction. We all made it out fine. Grogru survived. Here, can you make a fun eye patch with a pocket in it and give the specs of?
That's. He made a fun eye patch, is where.
We just dazzled on it.
Okay.
Right.
Can you make a fun
Yes.
iPad?
Can
Eye
you make a
patch.
fun eye patch? Explosion at the junction. We're all fine. Can you make a fun eye patch?
It's going to be
She
you know,
ran.
Argus.
What do you expect?
She's
I
gonna
mean,
pay for you.
Argus-sized eye patch.
It's
He
pretty
said
on
we're all
par.
fine, so
What does your mom do when she's still stressed and she's already stress forged a bunch? Like,
She's
Well,
stressed
I'm
makes an
giving her
iPad.
something else to make.
she stress forges harder.
Well, then what did it? Glad you're okay.
Why are you praising Morden? That would make sense.
Glad you're okay. Do you need me to send help? Say the word. We'll go underground. Eye patch, no problem.
I'm out of spells.
Next message. The matriarch is real.
Major guy.
Matriarch. I mean, in our messages, like in our history, mythos, though, is it called the Mythogai or is it called the matriarch?
You don't know. You don't know. Like you've
folktales.
it doesn't have a name in the folktale. It's
Okay.
just called this giant albino like earthworm. like don't think Alaskan bullworm, not that kind of thing. It's more like this giant, what would be a purple worm if it wasn't not.
It
purple.
didn't have a title in
Yeah,
our
it didn't.
mythos, though.
Yeah, it
It's-
did not have a title.
okay.
If we're gonna do another one tomorrow, we'll at least check on that later.
Yeah, we should put out.
Oh yeah, Oh yeah.
It's been like a few weeks since we checked it.
Been a
anyway,
couple.
so-
It's been-
I mean, that might actually be a story to tell her in person.
Yeah.
Might be too difficult to explain through message. So.
Okay, so you guys bed down. You guys rolled your perception checks. Nothing appears to be too much of an issue. Conk does hear some echoes down the cavern. However, with the acoustics of this cavern, it could be thousands and thousands and thousands of feet down, and it just could be a loud noise. Granted, it's an super circumstantial as to where this originated from, because a loud noise just around the corner could not be heard based on the acoustics of where it's coming from. Whereas if the acoustics are right, it acts like those whisper tunnels in certain some of those buildings where it just goes on forever and ever and ever. It's really hard to tell where these things are. But nothing appears to you visually or like touch or tremors while you're sleeping. You guys all get a long rest. Welcome to the next day.
You want me to?
Yes, please. This will be, I believe, the 16th of Hylock.
12.
12. So that is a
That's good.
that's a good thing that happens.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Next day, not next level.
That's great. Somebody, please, everybody, just roll a d20.
Okay.
See who wakes up first.
Just a luck check basically.
luck check.
Rollies.
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 18.
17.
4.
12. He said
1.
1. Ooh.
13.
Oh, it's sorry. 15. 15.
You got first. Who got before log? 15. You two. Okay. You two wake up before log. The moon's back.
Oh.
Wait. It's not white. It's blood.
Oh. Still.
You reach your fingers into it, and blood starts to streak down your fingers. And as you you know that type of like the liquid where if you put pressure on it, it becomes a solid. It's the reverse. When you put pressure on it, it becomes a liquid, and it turns into like blood.
Pull out a vial and squeeze some into a vial.
Okay, you squeeze some into a vial. You have a vial of blood moon liquid.
Obviously.
Shit.
That's what I was singing on.
How many vials do I have?
You have to have empty vials in order to do this.
I have 8 empty flasks.
Are you trying to fill all 8?
I'm gonna fill 5 of them.
Okay, here's the deal. You rolled a what?
15.
A 15, and you got a what?
17.
Okay,
And
so
you got a what?
18.
So you can fill 3.
Okay.
1 for each initiative count that is more than
That's perfect. I'll take what I can get.
you. Roll an Arcana check for me.
Liquid.
18.
18. You believe each of these count as a potion of minor healing. So each of these is a D4 plus 1 healing potion.
Nice.
We're having fun with.
Granted, it tastes like high iron blood.
Yeah.
Straight up blood.
You're drinking blood.
It's a blood sauce.
Law doesn't have a problem.
Dog, you were dreaming about the pint of blood last night, weren't you?
I mean, you know, like the fucker stabbed me in the back.
Now you start to
You
wake
know.
up and you can have this conversation. Sure.
Fucker stabbed me in the back, and you know, they only put the blood in the beer the one time, and that was it. They should change the name.
You were looking for a whole pint.
I mean, why?
You can always try and go back and take it over when we're done. Oh, I'm still asleep now. I'm not talking about it.
No, we all.
We woke up.
You were, yeah, you rolled that one.
No.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah, you wake up last. Everyone is like starting to like get their shit together and be like,
I'm gonna bring
"Hell,
Cole over a cup of coffee.
Oh.
aw,
Whatever you do,
What's in it?
keep trying to
mean?
sleep as
I got
long as
coffee.
possible.
He did.
I know, but what's in it?
Okay.
Nothing.
Okay,
Try.
it's not a prank.
No.
Okay. Cool.
Just-
You wake up to the smell of fresh coffee as Kenton, as Argus is over you with a steaming cup of coffee.
We got some more coffee.
Yeah, thank you. It helps with my splitting headaches in the morning.
You still have those.
Yep.
Every day since it happened.
Are you still dreaming of your mother?
No. Sometimes it's the tentacles. Sometimes it's nothing. Occasionally it's my mother.
Does she chase you around with a forge hammer, trying to mold you into her own?
I think that's a person.
Sounds like you're projecting.
Before the log ate it, I did dream of the fetish a few times.
How you don't?
Yeah, but anyone close to it dreamed of it, so I
Right.
don't know if that's an accurate
I never dreamed of it.
willpower.
But you haven't since. Well,
I
you
didn't
didn't
either.
yesterday, so I guess.
We were underground. We were
Willpower.
I still feel the pull for it, but it's not the pull that was going on before.
Right.
Okay, so you guys are up. You have a day ahead of you. How are you? Because you're like very near this very sharp turn of which this east by northeast tunnel starts to become, or I'm sorry, west by northwest tunnel starts to go nearly due east. That's kind of the opposite direction you need to go. What is it you're looking for? How are you traversing? What's going on?
He's got his cane out, so we have a compass. So if we find an offshoot that goes
More westward.
back towards
Midheim.
Midheim,
Mhm.
I think we
Okay.
want to take.
Those of you, what's up?
Mage armor, good berries.
You got it.
Everybody gets.
I'll travel in the middle, and as we're walking, I'll keep an eye out for any additional worm
Cool.
droppings.
Those that are trained in survival or have a +5 or more to survival can roll survival at advantage because of the cane.
Or I pull my sword. I pull the rapier too before we take off. Make sure we know which way's north.
You got it. Right. So get advantage on that survival.
18.
18 for Sofka.
19.
19. You guys have a really firm grasp. You working together. One that is very good with, underground. The Zemdag and Argus know underground. Sofka, the underground people don't talk about. So like
I know these
new
streets.
tunnels and stuff like that. This is your jam because you're just like, granted, you're more of an urban person, but you have the instincts of, because you guys spent most of your time in the city rather than working in mines. Sofka spent her entire life like surviving in the underground, like the wild of the underground. So you work together with Cole with the aid of his ever northward cane, are able to then do me a favor. You're able to like get a really good direction where it is that you need to exactly go. Now, both of you, because you have this, please roll an investigation check. You can both roll this at advantage because you have a really good idea as to what you're
I mean,
looking for.
the tunnel only goes one direction,
It
so
does.
we have to follow the tunnel.
It does. However, I mean, with the way light is cast and the weird thing is finding side tunnels or crevasses in order to skip through, it's very easy to miss because it's a very large tunnel.
Right.
So this is kind of what you're looking for. You are moving across. Eventually, you do go across that bend and do head eastward. As you guys are specifically being like, okay, with your underground knowledge and you with your cardinal knowledge are looking for like the shapes of certain stones that could elide to maybe there's a tunnel right beyond this wall. Maybe it crossed by a tunnel and some of the dirt and the stone that it moved wide just created a thin membrane or a barrier between it. Does that make sense? So you're kind of looking for signs like that. You're looking for it's Legend of Zelda. You're looking for the wall that you can put a bomb next to to show to fly tunnel. That's what you're looking for. Go ahead and roll those.
At advantage?
Investigation at advantage.
Can I keep an eye out for additional droppings?
Absolutely. Go ahead and
12.
roll perception.
12.
12?
23.
23. Cool. You find exactly what you're looking for. Right at the curve, at the bottom of the ground, you like almost level with what it is. You see what looks like fresh stone, crushed and dirt thrown up against, and you see like the glint of your cane and the light spell that you have cast shine through some holes, like little pinpricks. And you see like there's a very thin membrane of rock and stone that's been pushed up against like a hole that's about 5 foot wide.
Hey, guys, I think there's a hole over here. Oh,
23.
sorry. Shut. I
Right.
think the wall's thin here, though.
Can you look through it?
How long you look through it?
You find,
Your meld into. Can you just like poke your head through?
I didn't prepare that.
Oh, okay.
you find 40 gold worth more of it.
Didn't you say
Log
you
can see through it.
It's not like the...
Yeah, I can look through it.
Got 30 more ore.
Gold.
40 gold.
40 gold worth. It's gold ore.
Okay, I'm just putting it in
40
the.
gold worth of gold ore.
So yeah, I can look through it.
You look through it. It's past about like 5 feet of this like condensed rock and stone. Yeah, it is another small tunnel about 5 feet wide. There.
Does it look like a worm tunnel, or does it look like a mine tunnel?
Roll a nature check.
We're at 585. If you just want to change the gold ore to
Yeah.
585.
That was nature. It's going to be a 6.
6.
Keep rolling
Hard to
crap.
tell.
It's a tunnel. The way out of here.
Tunnel. And that's the interesting thing too is that spending more and more time in the underground here, you've noticed that maybe all of these tunnels are made by worms, or maybe and then some are just more aged than others and have formed like stalactites, and then after condensation have looked more cavernous, or maybe some do form and then are like hit like geodes upon worms. Like it's really hard, but having subterranean worms like this increases dramatically and exponentially how many tunnels there would be throughout the rock. And they somehow have a bit of an inclination as to know exactly what structural integrity is. So they make sure that things don't collapse upon them. They have an instinct. So the mountain hasn't collapsed upon itself for reasons.
So while I've got the gaze up, I'm going to look around. Like, do I see any other skeletons? Do I see like pockets of ore or like?
Oh, right. You're looking through. Right. Sure. Roll
30
roll
feet deep.
D20.
30 feet deep.
Okay, 17. On the die.
17. You do see. It's hard to tell. It kind of looks like static, and a little bit, but then you realize like, oh, it's not static. It's just the refractory light of like an ethereal, like maybe a geode, like a little bit about 10 feet up to like, up and to the left, about 10 feet into the tunnel.
So probably more than we could quickly mine out.
I mean, you've got magic and you've got mining stuff. It's up to you, but it is a geode about the size of your head.
So there's a big geode, like 10 feet in there. Just so you guys know. I don't know. I'm not sure what it is, but yeah, it's like this big.
Oh, this is a big geode. Okay, so you don't know what type of geode it is, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just-
unfortunately, with the nature of your sight, you're not able to tell.
but it's 10 feet.
Okay.
Just if you guys are interested.
How are we going to get through this wall without causing it to explode? We don't necessarily have to draw another worm to us.
I don't
You,
know.
with your melded in stone, because it's only 5 feet
He
deep,
didn't
can
prepare.
go through and
Prepared.
come out the other side.
He didn't prepare.
But you didn't prepare.
I think we're in a worm tunnel, and especially a worm this big. I don't think any of the other worms are going to want to investigate what's going on here.
It's also pretty fresh, right? That's the thing.
I think we're fairly safe to try and clear out a passage big enough for us to squeeze through.
All right, I just wanted to make sure because you warned us to be quiet before, so.
Take out my mining pick.
We ready to dig?
I got my crowbar.
Dig, 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 dig.
I have a crowbar.
We all have crowbars.
picking at that piece that connects to the tunnel beyond it.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can start. Ting, 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 ting. I can say, just guys roll athletics checks for me and see how fast you guys go through this. Because eventually you are gonna get through this.
Do
This
we?
guy is not.
And it is like somewhat loose rock, but loose rock that like imagine like something with a lot of fucking pounds per square inch pressure, just condense rock into stuff. So relatively loose rock, but
Does a legitimate pick give me anything? Or is it?
no, it allows you to do this.
'Kay.
Period.
13.
13,
10.
10,
11.
11. So it takes you about like 2 hours.
Crit.
Crit
On my crowbar.
with your crowbar.
Dirty 20 with my crowbar.
Right? Would it be?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because is this advantage? I forgot to.
Wait,
didn't roll-
do I have advantage
I
on
didn't roll
it?
advantage.
No, because
My
the crowbar isn't meant for this type of thing.
Okay, so I'm just
This
throwing
isn't
my...
a thing that requires leverage. So, okay. So here's the
We could
deal.
use the crowbar as a baseball bat, you know.
Yeah, that's what I was
So
thinking.
hold on.
What's your athletics with the 20?
22.
22.
Okay, so Log, Argus, and Zemdek go chipping away at their mining picks, and then Cole's like, "Get out of the way." What does Cole say, and what does Cole do? Quickly now.
Yeah. Let's see if a little noise helps make this thing come down a little faster.
Oh no.
I don't know if that's a great idea. Shock is
We could make noise.
shock is not good for stone.
I didn't take the bet.
I mean, you've seen in the past.
What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Explosion cause things to collapse.
Cole just like holds his crowbar like a bat. He's just like at it with that.
Sure, you start staking and swinging it and start like knocking big chunks off, and like they start falling through to the other side. Sofko, what do you do with your
I-
natural 20?
Come in. I like run from the other side of the cavern, holding it out like a no, I'm holding it like a lance.
Lance?
And I'm just sprinting, and then I just invest through.
You impale the stone, and then you put all your weight on it, and it like as Cole is knocking it, and he like whoa gets blown out of the way. You put all your weight on it, and it releases one of the keystones that was holding a bunch of the other stones in place, and it's just that one moment where that comes loose, and a good like 3/4 of the whole wall just comes tumbling down. Perfect. Great, and you guys have a way forward.
I'm not criticizing. You guys did great. In the future, caution, perhaps. I would rather the tunnel didn't collapse on top of us.
Didn't you two cause a collapse the last time we did this?
Yeah. Yes.
Wah.
Which reminded me.
Got him.
Which reminded me of my old lessons. It's been like a year and a half since I've mined anything, but yes, like there are rules to these things.
Log is like, you
But I'm
preachy
still
bitch.
having this worm tunnel right now. 'Cause it's very confining. That's not good.
We're out of the big tunnel. Now we're into a small tunnel.
Yay.
Now we're going into a smaller tunnel.
Exactly. We're going into an even more confined space.
For sure.
Um,
Okay, you guys.
Who knows? This one may not have any more random drops and right turns that turn 180 degrees.
Okay, so this kind of puts you in the right direction. Will somebody please roll a percentile die for what's going on here? Let's do it.
Do it.
Do it. Do it.
Do it.
For the travel for the day.
That's an 80.
80? It's like the fourth
Yep.
time you guys have rolled an 80.
These things weighted.
Yes, it is. I don't think towards a certain pace. I think it's just weight.
You guys experience another tremor.
Freeze immediately.
It's absurd how many tremors that you guys have experienced. But you move along this winding path that you feel, with the aid of your Star Cane, are moving in somewhat the right direction. You could be doing it. You could be even saving some time. You don't know. But you are moving in the right direction. For the sake of time, you guys rest again. There's not a whole lot of room for you guys to choose a spot, so you just say there, and the first one that says there wins. You set up the
Roll
dome, you sleep,
initiative.
perception checks. Day uneventful travel. Someone please keep track of how many days you are traveling in this underdark, super underground area.
So on the
Okay.
16th, we transitioned to the smaller tunnel. So
17th, I believe it was.
16th.
16th.
16th?
The 15th was our day in the
Right.
courtyard.
I'm just saying, somebody keep track of it so I know exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Let me know how many days you've been traveling in
I'm
the
one.
under.
I'm
Since the giant
keeping track of
fall.
it.
Since the giant fall. Yeah.
Keeping track of it.
Great.
One.
Cool.
One day.
Perception checks
17.
Is this just for the
for the
thing?
people that are awake. Conk and the familiars, because that's what happens.
21.
21.
I haven't re-summoned him yet.
You haven't.
No.
I mean, I could have like have we?
You have the
You
incense
can
to do it.
You
Yeah.
can do it tomorrow, or you can do it in the morning. Well,
Well, we made camp tonight. She
You can
would
do
have
it
had
tonight, yeah, if you
10
want
minutes
to.
do it.
Yeah.
Is it
do
just
you
10
want it to
minutes
be?
for that one?
Well, I got a cool new mini, but I don't know
You want it to
mechanically.
be a flying guinea pig?
Possibly.
Did you buy the flying guinea
I
pig?
did.
Yes.
There.
You can
Adorable.
do a flying guinea pig. It's far be it from me to
Would it
yup
be-
your yum.
would it be like a
However, we will
bat?
work out stats later.
Like a
we will,
bat?
He could be one of
we
the.
will work out
blind
stats
wolves.
later.
Right.
There was this whole
For the moment, just add +1 to its perception.
there was
Okay,
this vendor
would
at
it
Genghis
have-
Khan that was just like a cave.
Yo,
like
a
this
guinea pig does
giant
not have keen senses.
cage.
Absolutely
Okay.
not.
I mean, I'm.
It's a flying guinea pig. It could have whatever you want it to have.
Okay, we will figure out stats later.
Well,
Please, can we
but-
move this forward?
I know. I just want to. All I want to know or think about is if it would have dark vision. If it doesn't have dark vision,
Something with
I'm
dark
gonna
vision.
do right because I need dark vision to see.
Tell
from
you
here.
what, I'll give it 20 feet of blind sight.
Sweet. Because if it's moving like that.
But it has to go.
Yeah. Echolocation
Like
with that.
tunnel vision.
Yes.
It's echolocation. Yeah. Keno's over there losing it.
There was a whole
We will
wall
figure out-
that was just
this
like
is
absurd
all-
things. We were trying to figure out like
What the best absurd thing. to
Yes.
do.
Yes. So we will figure out stats later, but for now,
Okay.
sure, you can roll. Just roll it, goddammit, so we can move on.
Sorry.
there was a dog and a cat in samurai armor.
So
There
was very
was
Conk rolled 20s.
21.
21.
17.
17. Okay, yeah, both of you guys hear yet again just faint sounds. There are creatures down here, no fucking doubt.
Yeah.
Whether you come across them is up to luck, pretty much. at
The-
this point.
The hut is big enough though that it essentially like closes off the tunnel.
No, the tunnel is 25 feet in diameter.
There's
Oh no,
two
this
tunnels?
one's 5 foot. Yeah, yes. Yeah. I mean, it does get bigger and wider
Sure.
in some spots, but yes, essentially it does for the most part. Yeah, I mean, if water came through, it's not watertight.
Right.
But yes, for all intents and purposes, yeah, it does kind of like put a
Creature-wise.
big old stopper.
Yeah.
In the tunnel. Okay, cool. Next day.
Do I need to do it again?
Yes, please. I'm trying to get to a
14.
14, so you're good again.
Yep.
Okay. Everybody.
Percentile?
No, I'm gonna roll wake up checks because if people don't wake, if he wakes up first, you don't notice anything.
yeah.
I'm rolling great.
17.
18.
16.
19.
2.
10.
Okay, so Cole, Zemdak, and Sofka wake up before Log. Okay. Moon's back.
What color?
It's not full. It's waxing. Not only is it waxing, it's not the only moon. Wait a second. Listen.
Multiple.
Not only is it waxing, it's not the only moon.
Mm.
You're looking at this and you're saying, okay, the one that you've been seeing has been the big moon.
Yep.
The big moon that's really in the sky.
It's Biggie.
It's big. You start to see midi.
Smalls. I'm sorry.
You see,
No, but
small
that
is the colloquial term for the smaller moon.
I know, but
Just
big
like
and smalls.
Toenail
So toenail
It's just
and
like-
full small moon.
just started to creep into light. The
Kind of
small
like
moon.
yeah.
My
So
brain went there too
so-
before you said.
listen up. Listen up. Toenail of the big moon. Full moon of the small moon.
The small moon went from invisible to full
The small moon is now in existence. Just appeared into existence.
in full moon.
Full moon form. And you see it as you are up, it start to collide into the larger moon. But rather than like creating a crater and stuff coming out of it, it just passes into it and then stops. Like, and you can at that point kind of see the big moon becomes translucent, and you can see it kind of as like the core of the big moon, and it just stops and sits there.
Take a swipe at it.
The big moon or the small moon?
Small moon.
The small moon. You reach and your hand stops at the big moon.
Like solid.
Like it's solid. You can see through it, but it's solid, almost like glass. But it's not like glass. It's like dusty glass, as if glass was dusty, but you could still see through it clearly, like powder. You can attempt to, if you want to, dig through the big moon to try to get to the small moon. But you're gonna roll something to see if you can get to there before he wakes up.
Yeah.
Okay. Roll a dexterity check for me. What are you doing?
I'll help.
You help. Go ahead and do an advantage. What are you doing, Cole?
Gonna help too. That's
Okay. Cool.
that was what I was trying to do.
Oh, that'll lower the DC a little bit.
19.
19. DC was 20, guys. So here's the deal. You don't get to the small moon before he wakes up. You don't collect any of the dust, but it's weird. This trope, this theme that keeps happening with him. Granted, you know he has an affinity for the moons, but yep, that's about it. That's all you can get from it. It did have a beneficial, but you had to get to it. Okay, you wake up and it begins to it just becomes completely discorporeal as it just fades into being nothing. You kind of fall through it.
Does anybody have like a sleep spell?
Just drug log.
No.
I'm not.
No.
I can put him
I don't know if I
unconscious.
could do it with this. Maybe
Your-
Revik could.
Your moon visions have given us things that we can collect. So if they keep appearing, it might be worth investigating what they are. So if we can keep you asleep, I'm sorry, but I'm
I mean, if you guys just want to like carry me through these tunnels, I mean, I'll take it.
You want the palanquin?
Ooh, Palanquin for love.
just let him nod off when
Need
he
some
feels like it.
fucking fan art of that. For sure.
Does anybody have
Oh, tensor
No,
floating disc, yeah.
I don't.
Did you ever want to spend any of the time while you're traveling in order to learn your new spell scrolls?
I would like to, but we only have so much paper slash purple worm
You want to get
scales.
to more of a civilization spot.
Yeah, as much as
Okay,
it's
cool.
tempting, but I would have last night casted Goodberry again, distributed it right before falling asleep, so that was
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, for the sake of time, let's move forward. Roll the percentile die again.
nature armor.
You got it.
On 80. 30.
30.
30. This is the
Today is
17th.
uneventful.
Mhm.
As
Hell
you
yeah.
travel through, if you feel like you're making better time than if you would pass the Tryway. It's your second day of travel. You can roll perception checks for tonight as well. Let's move through here. Let's keep going.
This
Let's
is
knock them out.
This is the third day where I wouldn't have seen like.
Yep. So roll
I
that.
would have cast daylight for you if you would have said something.
Well, I am gonna have benefit because you did it for me before, for like the first day.
It's just advantage on the check.
Yeah. So yeah.
Because the reality is that you're still under.
Yesterday I was gonna do sending and stuff. We're just trying to rush.
15.
I was just
You
gonna
can do
tell my mom log specs for his eye patch and
You
try to
can-
put a holder.
Sure. No need to roll play that. You got it.
And to put a little
Eye patch.
carrying case in it.
Eye patch dimensions.
With
With a little
like
pouch.
a little cylinder there that he can like open up and put something in. Ew.
No, just like behind the eye
Imagining
patch is a
his
little
mom
like
making
pocket.
it
A little
first
pocket for
because
drugs.
She didn't know log specs. She's like, oh, it's not for you. Okay, I'll make it this
Bigger.
now."
What'd you get?
15.
15?
17.
17? Hey!
Perception.
Guinea
Right.
pig Shakar?
Guinea pig Shakar, come on, buddy. 16.
16. Okay. Again, you guys hear the sounds. This is haunting because you have no idea what these sounds are, and sometimes they feel like they're coming from behind you in the walls and not just echoing down, but they are here. There is a presence. You guys are skirting the edge. Most likely, at sometimes you are dipping into the Underdark. This is getting dangerous here. You know, there's a reason why people don't do this. What'd you get for your thing?
1 shy of the DC. So I failed.
So you get a temporary madness.
When you don't get your thing, RPG.
I know. I was hoping one more time you'd be like, Miss Shenny, as you called on me, but no, it's okay.
We've given you enough that you're like
I've been
rolling this with
now that
advantage.
there are stakes.
but
I've been
even then,
so careful.
It was one.
Yeah, no,
time.
you're fine. I was
Yeah.
just
No, you guys.
the
have
music box and
I
the
was
been
light
talking about
and
casting
yeah.
a
the
sending on
dome.
Machete, so you had to actually call on Machete.
I so thought he was gonna call you Machete sometime soon. As soon as he called him Ken there too.
I know.
And I was like, it's coming.
So close.
The second time you
So
did it.
close. And it was just one shy, guys.
Okay, please roll a percentile die for short-term madness.
Great. Here.
Oh, the big one.
I'll take the big boy. Yeah. All right. I'll just do it in here so it doesn't taint that. 26.
Please roll another d10 for me.
6.
Roll a d4. Ignore the 4.
Okay. 2.
You spend the then 6 minutes incapacitated on the ground, laughing hysterically.
That's
Before you
like we're
guys-
trying to bed down. I'm just
Yeah,
like-
you just laugh through madness. It's like, this can't be real. This can't be real. I can't be here
Yeah,
again.
we're down
I
in the
can't
dark.
be here again.
Yeah, we're down in the Underdark, and like there's a lot. I'm not like.
And you just
rock
laugh
bottom.
as like, this can't be real. Like, I don't know if you've ever had those moments in your life where you're like, I'm dreaming. This can't be real. I can't be happening. And you just laugh and you laugh.
Yeah,
As you
that
dissociate.
creepy maniacal
Yeah.
I go and pull the music box out while you're laughing, and I'll sort of like big spoon as a tiny gnome, just like curl myself around you, and it's okay. It's all right. You're gonna be okay. As I'm playing the music box, trying to calm you down.
Okay. All right. Ooh, it's really funny how far down we are. Okay. Thank you.
It'll get better. It'll get better.
All right. We are moving up. Right.
We're halfway through.
Okay.
It's all uphill from here. It's all uphill. Hopefully, it's all uphill from here.
I mean, that's surprisingly reassuring.
6 minutes
Okay.
of you freaking out.
Yes.
6 minutes of you freaking out.
Great.
And then we fall asleep.
And then you fall asleep. Perception checks again. Oh wait, no, you did the thing already. Okay,
Yes.
so next day. Any sendings?
What do I need to do?
I'll send to Eleazar and see if there's any change in his.
You hear him back, and he's humming a song. He spends most of the sending humming a song.
The song never ends.
No, just a song that you're not familiar with, but he ends it with a couple words being like, "The deals are good, but," and then it just cuts off. 4. Everybody roll for rollies.
Low.
No, this one I want to roll high.
Have him wake up before everyone else.
Yeah, and I did good. 19.
19.
16.
15.
15.
20.
Trisheni, you wake up before Log. And you see the big moon stretch with ichor and resin, like a mouth. Starts to almost like a candle wax is dripping over the moon, except it's like ichor and black resin. And it reaches out like 2 jaws, and the teeth are dripping to the ground as the big moon devours the middle moon.
I try to wake Log up. Or like this is not okay. This is not
Roll a
good.
wisdom saving throw.
Great. Cool. All right, not terrible. 18.
18. You feel utter fear enter your persona and you as a person just enter your psyche, and you push it from your mind as you try to wake Log up. However, this will happen. However, other things happen simultaneously because a lot of stuff is going on. So you do witness while this is happening, because you're like, and there's that moment where you're just kind of in shock, and you do witness what's happening, whereas this devours the middle moon, and the moon just turns towards you. And then it, almost as if it was the actual moon in the sky, has that corona around it, as though it's encountering atmosphere, and that shell of like fire engulfs it as it starts to make its way down to the ground where Log is sleeping.
Yeah, I try to.
And it's like moving in slow motion, though it actually was a large celestial entity entering the atmosphere. You try to wake him up. Roll a con save for me.
He was the next one to wake up, anyways.
Yeah.
He was, but this is all happening very, very fast, and this has been happening ever since he fell asleep.
On save.
But you just witnessing the last bit, the tail end of it.
So 8.
8. So you do wake up, and you see what looks like, for a moment you forget you're underground, and what looks like the actual moon in the sky. Very Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, coming down, colliding with exactly where you are.
I missed a step.
You teleport away, and as you do, when you reappear, the whole scene is gone.
I missed it.
No,
Damn it.
no, it was not good this time. Based on what you were telling us before. It's just
Something was off.
the moon was
Your
eating
dreams were filled with fear. Almost as your patron was feeling fear.
Something wasn't right with that.
it. Yeah, I mean, there was
I can
black.
see the smirk on Adam's face.
There was black ichor.
What's the moon this morning?
There was black ichor dripping from Biggie as it was eating the smaller moon, and it was coming, and it was frightening. It was really frightening.
Yeah.
And it was
Oh,
starting
right,
to come
Theo
towards
too,
him.
yeah. Both you guys are thinking.
That sounds
Thinking
more
you
like
know
what
what
was
you
in
know.
my dream.
No,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, did that happen to you last night?
it has
too?
something to do with something.
No,
but
no, just like what my dreams were like before. That creepy shit is what I'm used to.
Okay, the ichor.
Yeah, that sounds more like what it is that you were experiencing on a consistent basis, whereas yours has been in kind of a flip of a coin.
Yeah.
Okay. One more percentile die, guys. Let's try to get to a point where it's a nice cutoff.
Wait, well, heart. Somebody gets to roll.
Oh
for
yeah,
it.
heart. Hey, it's been a while.
18th of high lock, so It's a 20.
Nothing.
D20 for this.
Here, I've rolled
Yeah.
like nothing today. That one.
You gotta be fucking kidding me. Kenton, you have the Will Wheaton curse. This is absurd.
can we say the heart recharges on a 1 or a 20?
Absolutely not. Under no circumstances.
Okay.
75.
And
75.
with a loud crash, the worm comes through the wall right next to me.
You guys encounter a steep incline. This is going to take you twice as much to traverse, rather, so you guys are going to lose a day of travel with this.
Yep.
However, can somebody please roll a D12?
Three.
The tunnel starts to widen in this heavy incline. And you come across the remnants of a ransacked and broken cart, of all things. You know people that do travel these types of things, although they're highly dangerous. A dead creature, looks like a beast of burden, lies in what looks like a not completely dried pool of its own blood. Those of you that have any experience with the underground whatsoever can roll a nature check.
Mines count.
Yes. Yes, especially with Beast of Burden.
At 24 or 22.
Awesome.
21.
1.
Total?
No, 3 total.
Okay.
8.
Okay, 8. You recognize this immediately. This is a rote. This is a beast of burden that is specifically found mostly in the Underdark, but anywhere it could be in the overworld as well. Think of like a
just
big
saw a bunch.
woolly cow or bull that has an extra set of legs and just moves. So it has like 6 legs instead of 4. Same thing. You guys recognize this as well.
I do.
You don't. I'm sorry. You do.
We just saw him. Grogu had a bunch of them.
Yeah. So you guys recognize this. It's just from this distance. From what you can tell, this is a dead rote.
Is there anything still in the cart?
Roll
Worth
investigation
salvaging?
check for me.
21.
21. There appears to be quite a bit in the cart. There are crates that are unopened. There's a barrel that's smashed, and there is what looks like a couple sacks. And as you kind of dig through the sacks, there appears to be like there's a sack with like 2 gold and 15 silver in it, and like a scant bit of copper. You dig through, you try to open up the crates and the barrels, and you notice what looks like maybe contraband, but like a couple things like some candelabras, some like clocks and other types of things that looks like they might have been like stolen from a place and were possibly being transported in order to be fenced somewhere. It looks like fenced goods is what it looks like to you from what you could tell. But almost everything that was here in the cart is still here. It doesn't look like this cart was mugged and taken for its thing, but you do notice there's a blood trail of something being dragged that goes on to a very nearby offshoot tunnel from this tunnel. And that's where we're going to end it tonight, guys. Thank you for watching CrestVahllen D&D, The Ardent Flame. We'll catch you next time. Stay safe out there.